Ladies and gentlemen, power is over. But that does not mean for one instant of a second that the fun is over. Without a doubt, you are here because the power is out. So stick around, because it's Power Out. Yeah, it's Power Out.
Well. Pluggo is back in the driver's seat for what is another edition of Power Out, as our good buddy Zach is on assignment. And he left me in charge of Power Out for what was another clip show. Come on, Zach. I think he's planning this, honestly. I really do. Like, every time I take over, it's nothing but clip shows. And I'm going to say my piece on these clip shows. It's, I'm in the driver's seat. This is my show tonight. I'm just going to tell you how I feel. What are you doing, NWA? You have the biggest buzz that you've had in quite some time, because you have two great shows lined up this weekend with Empower, the all-women show, and NWA 73, and you've got really good cards. And you've literally the last 2 weeks ran a clip show. You did the best of tonight. Last week was the road to St. Louis. Why can't we get some builds, some matches, some type of excitement to kind of honk? Goose is in the house. What's up, Goose? Love you, brother. Why can't I get something? Anything. That's what I mean. I sit through these shows. I pay the $5 a month for the NWA package because I enjoy what the NWA has to offer. And you give us nothing for the last 2 weeks. And the show you gave us last week, you gave it to us for free on YouTube. And that really it bugs me. It absolutely bugs me that I have to sit here and you can't give me a match. You've got a great up-and-coming talent. I'd like to see some of these people in an NWA ring wrestling leading up to a pay-per-view. They say, throwback, what's good, my man? Welcome to the NWA Power/War Report, because as soon as I'm done, Chris Parrish, Alex, and Ed are going to take care of your NXT needs, but I'm going to sit here for the next 20 minutes and just bitch and moan about NWA because they're letting me down. They really are. Like I've said, I've been on this show quite some time. This is where I got my start here at Love Wrestling, and they have a very good up-and-coming young roster. Can't we throw some matches at me? Can't we get Slice Boogie in just a match just for fun against Colby Carino or something? I mean, what are we doing here? I understand that you don't want to give away matchups and have people wrestle before the big, I get it, but you've got a roster. It's a tape show. Put some stuff in the can for me. So he's gonna hang and listen to crap. Hey, you and me both, Pluggo, I'm Pluggo, you're Throwback. Basically, I'm in the middle of a storm right now in my neck of the woods. So if this thing crashes, you guys are gonna get NXT early. That's all I'm gonna say. We're not gonna sit here and force the issue, because heck, the NWA doesn't force the issue. And they like to clip show it up. And so you know what? Why don't we clip show it up here? Why don't you guys do me a solid and check out this quick little snippet with the Grand Poobah himself, Spencer Love, interviewing Masha Slamovich, one of my favorites, ahead of NWA Empower.
Well, and again, it's a nice little tie-in. You know, you talk about the kismet of professional wrestling, but a former NWA Women's Champion making the save for you a week before you're set to make your debut for the NWA. You're hopping in the Women's Invitational. Again, maybe just a little bit on the experience, how excited you are for that on the precipice of what's going to be a really cool event for them.
I am really, really excited. And like you said, this is not only a cool, but also a historic event. With having the first Invitational Cup, them bringing Mildred Burke's title. I think it's going to be a really, really awesome weekend, especially with the anniversary of NWA also going down in 2 weeks at the Chase in St. Louis. So I hope everybody has their eyes set on that.
Now, let's say you come out of the Women's Invitational as the winner. You get to face off with either Camille or legit Layla Hirsch the next evening. Have you had the opportunity to step into the ring with either of them? Maybe do you have a preference, a strategy for either, or are you just focusing on the match ahead and then maybe worrying about the championship after?
Well, myself and Layla Hirsch actually wrestled at Mission Pro back in March, I believe. And nobody won that match. It was actually a draw. So me and Layla are 0-0 at a tie with each other. And I would be more than happy to prove who the better Russian is at NWA the next night. And as for Camille, I have not shared the ring with her. However, I've seen her work and she's quite impressive. And I am ready to be the next one to step up and give her a run for her money, give her a challenge.
That was an excellent interview. Check that thing out on the Love Wrestling pages. Spencer does an awesome job with those interviews. He kills them, knocks them out of the park. And look at see, there it goes. I got kicked out. For all those WWE Raw haters, right, that are out there going, it's the same rematch weeks in and weeks. At least they're wrestling. The NWA roster has done more wrestling on shows that's not NWA Power than they have on NWA Power in 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since we've seen a match, and what are you doing? It's just sad. It breaks my heart a little bit. Yes, Goose, Trevor Murdoch is still in the NWA. He is wrestling this Sunday for the 10 pounds of gold against Nick Aldis again. But you wouldn't know that because he's in clip shows every week. Sad. It's just sad because this is, like I said at the top, I'm getting kicked in and out. I think the NWA is on to me. But yeah, it's another one of those things. Like, yeah, it's great buildup. Yes, you want to push these matches, but have something else. They had Melina face off on somebody on Impact. I can't even remember who it was. Melina's wrestling on Impact, not on Power. Why aren't we wrestling on Power? Why aren't you building up this storyline and giving me and others the bang for their buck? NWA. I don't know. It kind of blows my mind to the point where I really don't know what to talk about today because they haven't given me anything to talk about. And if you want an in-depth review of the upcoming cards in true NWA fashion, last week, me, Zach, and Phil Lindsay of Daily DDT went through the whole card and gave you our thoughts on everything. So guess what?
One other individual that I do have to ask about who held the NWA's heart, for lack of a better way to put it, is, of course, the question mark. It's oddly enough, not so much a question. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to maybe share some thoughts on, obviously, what he meant to not only you, but the NWA as a whole.
Yeah, look, Joseph Hudson, as a human being, was a really, he was a special guy, very unique, very eccentric, like a sort of lovably odd guy. He lived very close to me. We were both in the Nashville area, so he's been to the house. And the last time I saw him before he passed away, we were hanging out in my kitchen, just sort of chatting up about whatever. And he wore a lot of hats here. He played a big part in sort of getting us where we were. And he was one of those guys that he would have been. He would have always had a place here. Like he would have been a sort of end, with Billy and their relationship, and they have they had a long established relationship long before I was in the picture. So, you know, he is one of those guys, like I said, that he would have had a job for life, you know, with the NWA. He would have been because he did so many different things. He produced, he edited, he helped with, you know, with logistics, merchandise, all sorts of stuff. So, you know, not just on a personal level, obviously, because it's just a really great human being and a very dedicated father, which, you know, to me was obviously admirable and something I can relate to. Just as a, you know, he's also missed greatly on a professional level.
That was Spencer talking to the NWA World Champion Nick Aldis about the question mark. RIP the question mark. But yeah, see, look at NWA. I can do clip shows too. People show up here to want to hear my analysis on Powerrrout, and I got nothing because you gave me nothing. Goose hitting us with, did they not have a show scheduled? Like, did they not bother to book or work because of the pandemic? I don't know. I don't know if that's why they did it or not. I feel like it's a taped show. You can put some stuff in the can. I don't know why they just, I know that they're hyping this up and they're going off and I mean, Ric Flair is going to be there at NWA 73. Now, did I expect him to show up at Powerrrout tonight? Absolutely not, because I think you do save that for a big pay-per-view. But there's no reason that any of your roster couldn't have done some matches, done some work in the ring, built up some more momentum to these big matches. Because if you're just a casual observer, you're like, let me get into the NWA here in the last few weeks to build up to these pay-per-views, you've got really nothing to go on but hype videos. And what builds a better, you know, some wins in the ring, some people, you know, those moments before the go home shows where they're standing over somebody with the title, you know, yeah, don't do the rematch, but Nick Aldis squashing somebody, that's better than nothing. Like, give me a match. That's all I want. I want to watch wrestling, man. To quote my good friend Warren Hayes, when I watch wrestling shows, I want wrestling matches. That's why we watch professional wrestling, for the matches and the stories. And all you're giving us is the stories and none of the matches. Bums me out. And they tape shows, they
Pluggo, can you hear me? Okay, we can't hear you. Do you want us to just go? Okay. Oh, hold on. There we go.
Musical chair.
All right, sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties, so an impromptu switch over.
Wow.
This has
Somebody,
been
somebody
a
at
great
NWA must have
train wreck.
heard him. Somebody at NWA must have heard him and got him off quick.
I want to know what that rant was, and we will probably have it on YouTube at some point later on this week if we can get Pluggo to go over it again. That being said, welcome to the War Report for the NXT broadcast tonight, which was a post-takeover broadcast, and it was jam-packed. Now, was it jam-packed with all good things? We'll see, because I think there's a couple of us here that have a couple gripes about how they jammed this show packed. That being said, I want to start by introducing my War Report partner every week, the natural Astrid Pizarro.
Yeah, she goes on top.
We then have Alex joining us again this week,
Hey-o.
who's just started watching NXT on a weekly basis, and he seemed to be enjoying the product.
Very much so.
And then, of course, we have my friend, the Love Wrestling Elite Champion, who defended his title against not one, but two challengers at SummerSlam weekend. He went to Vegas and beat them both. Welcome, Parrish.
I didn't go to Vegas. I just
No,
took
that's
on
true.
Vegas.
I got the line wrong. Yeah.
And like the football team and the Vikings, I went full raid on them.
And while we're here and we're talking about wonderful people and wonderful people doing wonderful things, don't forget to check out our sponsor, RK Athletics. You can find them online at RK Athletics 1. They post wonderful content all the time. They had a workout on there this morning, and I believe there's a contest going on. I'm not sure if it's over yet, but you could win some personal training if that contest is still going on. Check them out on Twitter, RK Athletics 1.
And congratulations to Rich, who just became one half of the new BEW Tag Team Champions.
There we go.
That'd
Something
be-
I did not know. So, with all that said, we got the plugs out of the way. We got everybody here. We can hear everybody.
Well, yeah, we
So-
couldn't hear the first plug.
Let's hope
All
we
right,
don't pull a
Pluggo.
Pluggo. Let's hope we don't pull a Pluggo. Now, Pluggo, I feel so bad for you, boss, and I really hope that you survive whatever storm's going on, and that, you know, next time Zach leaves you the reins of Powerrrout, that there's actually a show to talk about. Because
It was funny, of all the storms in NWA, this one was actually going on, and this one actually took care of them.
yes. So now that we're here, let's talk about NXT. NXT starts with a wonderful package showcasing NXT TakeOver, which we talked about on Sunday, with the exception of Parrish, and I'm sure we'll get his opinions on some of those things as we go. That being said, we start the night with Cameron Grimes, which is always a wonderful way to start any broadcast because Cameron Grimes is money. He cuts a great promo, but on his way to the ring, Wade Barrett gives me the line of the night when he's going in there and he's talking about how Grimes is the worst person in this company for overdoing his celebration on the way to the ring. Meanwhile, we just got rid of LA Knight, who probably had a bigger celebration than Cameron Grimes. A+ on Wade for being the heel commentator and keeping it through the whole way. He and Beth were on fire tonight on commentary, by the way. Ashton, we'll start with you. You're a big Cameron Grimes fan. What did you think of this promo?
I mean, I enjoyed every bit of it, so I'm glad he opened the show because he get the crap going with the chance of To the Moon, at least. The only part is, like, I was waiting for somebody to, like, interrupt him and be, like, the new challenger for the title, and I kept expecting that, but it didn't happen. But other than that, I really liked it.
There we go. Alex, what about you?
So, unfortunately, me and my wife had just got done watching Toy Story 2 and having ourselves a little cry. So I missed a good chunk of the intro to NXT, but I did see the money rain down. Yeah,
Which was
I'm not afraid to admit it. I cried during Toy Story 2.
We all
It's a
did.
good movie. Yeah.
I cried during most of the Toy Stories, to be brutally honest.
There you go. Yeah.
Like, there are emotional stories here. Andy goes off to college. That's worth a good cry.
Yeah. But seeing the money rain down, was obviously the high point of it. Seeing Cameron Grimes getting his moment in the spotlight was definitely something to watch.
And again, the best part is that this isn't going to be the only time we see Cameron Grimes, and it's great because it puts an end to all of this later on. Again, we'll get to that in a little bit. Parrish, what about you? Cameron Grimes, and even the match at TakeOver 2, because like I said, you didn't have your opinion on the TakeOver React.
Well, here's the thing. If people want to know why I wasn't there, it was my wedding anniversary, so I was too busy enjoying the beautiful night with my beautiful wife, watching a great movie in Free Guy, by the way. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's very entertaining. But I actually I haven't watched it yet because I got home last night. I watched my Saints in a beautiful preseason game, and then I tried to watch Raw, and I fell asleep. Whoops. But I haven't seen TakeOver yet, but I did watch NXT. And I do like the fact that Cameron Grimes is getting a well-deserved opportunity here with the $1 Million Championship. What I just don't like is that I don't like babyface celebrations when you don't have a heel coming out. Whether it was LA Knight just being LA Knight or whether it was somebody else. And I'm like, you could have really helped elevate somebody else, put them in a position. And you're just thinking, I'm like, man, Johnny Gargano would have been great. Would have been great. Cameron Grimes against Johnny Gargano would have been money. Pun intended.
I think this could have used a little bit of, and it seems like a weird one, but since the next match is going to be Ridge Holland versus Thatcher, it would have been great to have had Dunn and Holland come out now and kind of have that little even if they don't really interact, two ships passing in the night kind of thing, where Holland just gives them the eye. You don't have to set up a match, but just, have a heel come out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we move right into Thatcher versus Holland, and this was great. It may have been a little short, as we were talking about in the Slack chat. It may have been a little short, but I really enjoyed this as a taster of things to come, because I think that there's a lot more to this than just this one match. Holland ends up looking great. Thatcher gets a lot of offense in, gets a lot of chances, but it shows off the strength of Ridge Holland versus the technicality of Thatcher in a really positive way where no guy really looks bad in defeat. That being said, at the end of the match, it's a blocked drop kick from Thatcher that Holland takes advantage of and hits his finish. Alex, we're going to go ahead and start with you. What did you think of Holland tonight?
I thought he looked dominating. This match overall was, I wish there was more, this only felt like a taste of what these two could have done. And I'm sure with a lot more time, they could have done so much more. Of course, this was obviously a NXT USA broadcast match. So if we got this on a TakeOver, I think this could have been dollars to donuts better than anything else they put on tonight. And with that being said, I do think that there isn't a lot to unpack with this, like you said, Ed, and there's going to be more to come in the future.
Parrish, what about you for the match? We'll get to the post-match afterwards in a minute.
Yeah, what I liked is because they didn't give us everything. Because why do you need to give us everything right now? I mean, this is something that you can just set seeds for. I mean, I only say this because I just went to one, but I mean, before you go to a movie, you want to see the previews because you want to see the upcoming attractions, and I think this is a really good taste of what they could do upcoming from now. So I think it's really important that you don't tell the full story on free TV. You got to make people wait and see. This is what good storytelling does, and I'm actually really happy that they, gave us a taste, but they didn't give us the full bottle.
And Astrid, what about you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like, we were saying in the chat too, is like, this is just a preview, so I wasn't expecting it to last too long or to showcase too much, but it was enough to highlight both of their, strengths in the match. But obviously it's going to lead us to more, and I can't wait to see what it will be like when they get more time and the story develops too.
Can I also add one thing?
Of course.
What I loved about this is, like Astor was saying, both participants really stood out. They looked like attractions. And we're in that transition phase for NXT. So this is really important of a next step to highlight the new talent coming in, because you're not getting Adam Cole anymore. You're not getting Karrion Kross. There's holes to fill. So you need to see what you have. And it's really telling right now. This is a very important time for NXT.
And I want to say that with all the things going on and everybody talking about the demise of NXT and the changes coming, Nick Khan did an interview this weekend with BT Sports where he talked about that in the next few weeks we're going to start seeing changes, and it's going to be wholesale changes. We're going to see a lot of look changes and things like that. I'm a bit surprised they're changing the look again, considering they just changed it. But I'm happy to say that this episode was a good mix of both. You saw a lot of influx of new talent. You saw a little bit less of the old guard, but the old guard was in a really interesting position, and the young talent really got a shine tonight.
Yeah.
And
that's really important moving on. And that's just it. Like, that's the key phrase. You got to move on, and it's really important to highlight the next before. And that's what the main roster does a bad job of. They do a bad job of highlighting what happened, what they did, and they can't let it go, it seems like. And that's like a gripe we have to this current day, that we don't want to see all these nostalgic acts. And with NXT, they do a really good job, no matter how many people want to be upset with the fact they're going to change maybe the branding. But the single fact that we are seeing everyone being highlighted and positively, this is a really great way to develop new talent and give them a great opportunity on the USA channel as well.
And now, before we go any further, I almost forgot to do this. We then had Ciampa going in to check on Thatcher, and we have the beatdown of Ciampa. And it starts with it just being Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland going after him. And then we see Oney Lurkin come out. And then we get a cool return of Danny Burch. Wow, that happened. We get a cool return of Danny Burch. Danny Burch, way ahead of my schedule, comes back, and we got the 4-man McAfee group back together now, which is really cool. They beat down on Ciampa. He kind of gets the opening, and he kind of gets a little bit, and then he gets beat down, and then Thatcher tries to get into it, and he gets beat down, and it ends up with Thatcher getting the baton or whatever they called it. I forget what they have. I think it's a rugby weapon. I don't know. But he gets it to the arm, and then after he tries to fight off Holland anyways with the hurt arm, he ends up getting it to the throat against the barricade. Really effective beatdown of these guys to make this group look strong again. You have a returning guy. You have this whole group kind of being elevated big time right away with things that we'll talk about later. Did anybody have anything bad to say about the beatdown segment afterwards? Anybody really like it and have thoughts on it?
I do, but I will let other people go first.
No, ladies first. Go ahead, Parrish.
Coming from strong words for a guy that doesn't have any jewelry, by the way.
I do.
But you know what? Hey,
watches.
a strong opener, so I'll definitely go. I love the fact that they made this group look dominating again, because you do need that new force. The one thing that I think is really important is there's a lot of talks about Pete Dunne's contract situation with NXT and WWE. And this really seems like it's a non-factor. And I really appreciate that, because I think Pete Dunne in NXT needs to be a staple for this brand to really hit that next level. And we'll talk more about him in the show, I'm sure. But I think it's really cool to just get Burch back and maybe get Burch and Lorcan back in that tag team division, because this tag team division is really heating up, and MSK looks like they need a new set of challengers. So this is a very important piece going into that next phase of NXT.
Alex, Astrid?
I think Burch and Lorcan could definitely be, like he was saying, the next challenges for MSK. We debated on here who is going to be the next tag team to go after the titles. And, with these two returning, I could definitely see that, since they are, I believe, former tag team champions themselves.
They are indeed.
They haven't been defeated by MSK yet. It's something we could definitely see going forward.
Yeah, to me, it's like they were filling out that void that Undisputed Era had and making them look strong from the get go, which I really liked. I'm like, it seems interesting already, so it just makes me interested in what they do next. So I really want to see what they do with them now.
I'm going to loop 2 segments in as we move on with NXT because they're 2 of the exact same things, and they did the exact same purpose, and they made me feel the exact same way. It was Carmelo Hayes and Odyssey Jones sitting down with I forget what his name. I think his name is Sam, and I honestly forget the interviewer's name. He's popped up once or twice. He's not regular on there. And he asked them basic questions, and like 2 baby faces, they were just like, oh, I'm not looking forward to anything past this match, this, that, and the other thing. They were serviceable, but they didn't do anything for either guy as far as I'm concerned. Now, we're going to move on to the moment that probably made Astrid the happiest on the whole show. We get an interview segment with Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis. And they're talking about the engagement last week, and Dexter produces a piece of paper and a drawing. And it's a drawing as an invitation to a wedding. So on 9/14, September 14th, NXT, we're getting the wedding of Index. Astrid, enjoy.
Mike, can I just say I love how excited Beth was on commentary after they announced this. It was so cute, and just like their moment together. Obviously, weddings don't go well in WWE, so I want to see. Obviously, Gargano's going to interrupt this, but what else is going to happen after that? It's what I want to see too.
Alex?
Yeah, there are, in my mind, in my world, actually, there are 2 important things going on that week. We've got Index's wedding, and it's also my birthday on the 17th, but one of these is going to be better than the other. So obviously, we're going to tune into NXT, and we're going to watch this wedding, and we're going to watch it unfold because we all know what's coming. It's going to be Gargano interrupting this in some way, and we're going to have a match between Gargano and Dexter again.
Barish?
Just got to make it about you, huh? Just got to make it about
At
you.
least I'm not flaunting around a title,
I mean, that's because you don't have one.
I don't have to flaunt around my accolades, thank you.
Well, I mean, you should. I mean, but I mean, with that being said, I mean, as the Love Wrestling League champion,
I don't get paid.
Hey, when you get to make the owner, look like amateur hour when it comes to back-to-back shows, you flaunt it, all right, and you get away with it too. So
I don't get paid enough to be on shows with you. I got to talk to Spencer about this.
But no, I think it's very come on, there hasn't been a lot of weddings lately in pro wrestling that we're really excited to watch because we know the entertainment factor we're going to get out of this. Plus, it'll be very interesting if Dexter actually says anything during this. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting because, I mean, you've got to say what I do at some point. So, that'll be fun. But, I mean, at the same time, I have a feeling we might even see the return of Austin Theory as well because it's been a while since Austin Theory has been around. So, I really hope we see him back because him in NXT with Johnny Gargano in the way is very important, I believe.
We then move on and we get a promo package in the commercial break with Casey and Casey, as I call them, Casey Candizzaro and Kaden Carter, doing their TikTok dances during NXT TakeOver, complaining that they haven't had a tag team title match. Okay, cool. Then they're in a match against JC Jane and Gigi Dolan. I love the fact that both of these teams look like teams. Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro don't necessarily dress the same way, but you can tell just by the look of them and the way they interact that they're a team. Gigi Dolan and JC Jane don't look anything alike. Their ring attire is not quite the same, but you can tell the moment they hit that stage, like the Iconics, they're a team. They're 2 people who are coming together and they're going to make this work. And I love that we're seeing more of these built teams in NXT women's division to take on these NXT women's tag team titles. It was a quicker match than I was hoping for. I really kind of hoped that there'd be a little bit more to this. That being said, Casey and Casey win, and their finisher looked a lot better this week than it has in previous weeks because this thing is it's a dangerous looking move. It seems simple enough, but their timing never seems to be right, but they really seem to get it right this week. Chris, we'll start with you, Parrish.
I actually thought the wrong team won. And I say this because I would love the dynamic of babyface heel if we're going to a title match. We have babyface tag teams. I would like to see this, but I would also like to see these three teams kind of compete in a match. Like, I think a triple threat match for the titles makes a lot more sense, to be honest. Even though, like, I don't think we necessarily need to see Dolan and Jason in that tag team in a title shot right away, because I think it might be too quick for them. But at the same time, I think it's important to put emphasis back on those titles. And because of that, you need more teams to want them, and you need more teams interested. And if more people are perceived to want them, then the viewers are going to be perceived to think that they matter more than maybe they actually are right now. So I think it's important that they make sure that there's emphasis on these titles, or else why are we even talking about it?
The one thing I will say is I agreed with Parrish until there was a segment later on in the night that made this whole match make more sense. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I agree with him. When I watched the match, I did feel like the wrong team got the win. Alex, what about you?
I think the right team got the win. I mean, obviously, we want to see Gigi and Lacey go over and go for those titles as them being the heel tag team. But right now, they're really trying to build Casey and Casey. They did so with the TikTok. They've been the team for a little bit longer than everybody else. They've gone through a little bit more. So I think it is time for them to step up and go for the tag titles. They don't necessarily have to win them. This could set up, Gigi and her tag partner going for them after what happens in the next segment.
Yeah. And Astrid.
This one for me was a tough one between, I didn't know which team I would want to win because I like both of them. The only part that I would have wanted, at least if I could get Casey and Kaden to win the titles, mostly because they're more of an established tag team and they've been together for quite a while, especially if that ends the Zoe Io segments because they've been terrible. So I would totally prefer the established tag team to win in that sense because of that, because I know we won't get anything that's like cringeworthy like that. And, at least with Casey and Kaden, we get something that we know they have chemistry, they're friends in real life, and we see that chemistry in the ring as well. So I would like to see that focus on them. And if they win the titles and then we get Gigi and JC, chasing them, then I would prefer that just because obviously we don't get Zoe and Io again. Because I don't like how they've been putting the titles on them, and then the segment, everything going on with them has been terrible so far.
Yeah, I was going to say anybody but Zoe at this point would be a nice little thing. That poor girl is super, super talented, but they have her in such an awkward position.
Yeah.
And if this is comedy written for her, it's not going over well, at least with me. And I think with others on this show, we've talked about how this comedy just hasn't worked with the two of them yet. Io is a talented superstar waiting, and I think that Raw and SmackDown could use her desperately right now with the influx of talent that we're going to see move up. That being said, we get Raquel backstage, and she says that, she compliments Dakota Kai and says that, she knew she was going to be tough and she knew that it was going to be a hard match, but she knew that she would also win. They ask about Kaylee Ray, KLR, and she says, I knew she'd come. I've been waiting for her. And I like that she's not like, no, I'm not backing down. You want to step in front of the line, you want to get in the line, you want to cut in line. Hell, I don't care what you do. If you want to be in line, just get to the front of the title line and I'll fight you. Great babyface champion. It felt real for the first time. It felt like Raquel was digging into something real. And then Frankie Monet pops up with Robert Stone and Jesse Kamea. And Frankie Monet basically says, no, she can't cut in the line because that's my spot. And I'm like, okay, I could be in for this. Frankie Monet and Raquel Gonzalez. This would be cool. Anybody have anything that they want to say about this segment?
I want to know what happens with Dakota Kai, because this whole segment made me realize you're just going to give Dakota Kai this amazing turn. She just turned on like her best friend, her tag partner. Then she takes a loss at the pay-per-view, and then now what? What is she being like? What's like? As there needs to be something done with her. I would love to see her help KLR defeat Raquel Gonzalez for this title. That would be awesome to me. And I really hope there's an emphasis on a number one contender match, because those just don't happen, and those make a title mean more to me.
Yeah. I think the next thing for Dakota is probably moving up to the main roster. I don't think we see her again on NXT at all, unless they do, like Parrish said, a quick segment where she just does something as she gets on the out the door. Alex.
I mean, I agree with you. I just see her going up. I don't see anything else for her on NXT right now. Like, we didn't really have much for Alexa when she was done with NXT. She kind of just went up. You know, she never went for the title on NXT. So, and she never held it as well. So seeing Dakota going straight up to the main roster could be very beneficial for her. I don't necessarily see her helping Kaylee help the title from Raquel, because that would just kind of, it wouldn't be anything. It'd just kind of be there, like, okay, that happened. So her going up to the main roster is where I see her next.
And that's true.
Yeah, I would have liked to see her, even if it's just a promo backstage or some interview, just basically to end the chapter and say, like, I'm done, sort of thing. Just so we can know, end that chapter with her and Raquel somehow, because it just feels like it's just open-ended at this point if Dakota doesn't show up. But I did think it's interesting to put Frankie Monet in this position with Raquel. I really want to see this. So I'm like, if we put her before we put KLR in there, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I want to see both of these matches.
And considering what we saw from Kaylee Ray tonight, I definitely think that she's being saved and being put on a slow burn as she works her way to Raquel Gonzalez. We then get a video package for NXT UK, and I normally wouldn't bring this up, but having seen Ilya Dragunov versus Walter, if you're a fan of that match and if you love that match, this week's main event in NXT UK might be for you. You're getting Joe Coffey, the Iron Man, against Rampage Brown. These guys, I've seen them wrestle before. They are fantastic. I've watched them in multiple promotions over England. They are absolutely going to tear it down. I believe it's a last man standing match as well. So that might take away from it, but it's going to be brutal, similar to the way that Walter versus Dragunov was. So if you like that match, it might be a good main event to watch. That being said, Ilya Dragunov will be here on NXT next week. So we're going to see the UK champion one more time before he heads back, it seems like. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with him with that title before he goes on. We then had the Odyssey Jones interview like we had with Carmelo Hayes before. And then we had Kaylee Ray versus, I don't know. I didn't catch her name. I don't
Valentina.
know. Valentina. Okay. I was like, I don't even know if they put a name bar up. I was so distracted by her outfit, and I'm like, what are you wearing?
Valentina Faros, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard Valentina, but I was waiting for the nameplate so I could write it down. And I'm like, I heard Valentina, so I just put Valentina. And I'm like, they should have put a nameplate for her in there. I don't know why they didn't.
The entirety of my notes for this match is Kaylee Ray versus Enhancement Talent.
There you go.
That's all you really have to say about this match, because that's what it was.
Well, and that's it. Like, it's a match to make Kaylee Ray look like a star, look dominant, and look like someone with given an opportunity to someone who they probably wanted to get a look at, but they didn't know if they want to necessarily put them on TV right now. And that's usually what enhancement talents are, if they actually work for the company, which I believe this particular person does. So, yeah, I mean, unless you're living under a rock or you just don't watch NXT UK, I mean, I don't think we need this match to understand how good Kaylee Ray is. She held a championship for a lot longer than most women held a whole championships for, and she is one of the best female workers that, we just don't know because they don't put enough emphasis on NXT UK, which I believe is a shame.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I spent this match explaining to my mother what an enhancement talent is and why they're useful. Because I watch a lot of wrestling with my mom because it's fun and it's something we get to do together, and I can take my notes while we do it. And yes, I spent the entirety of the end of Valentina's entrance, through Kaylee Ray's entrance, through the quick match, through Kaylee Ray going to the back, literally explaining why you would have an enhancement talent match.
I want to touch on this comment for 1 second, because the reason why it's not talked about is because you can't talk about an individual who's not in an individual match or a apart that much because they're not there just to showcase that one person. They're there to showcase multiple people, like in this case. So it's really hard to get a feel of what Kaylee Ray actually is capable of when she's not being focused as a specific person. In this case, she was there. She did a great job. But with that being said, the focus was on so much more than just her. So that's why it's unfair to kind of use that as an example that she's done something before. It's like saying Damian Priest before he was called up on Raw. Oh yeah, he was in that elimination match at Survivor Series. It's like, yeah, cool, but what did he do? Like, you can't do much when it's not just about them.
Yeah, but I mean, it is a good point to know that she has been here before. She did have that great part in the War Games match. She's not an unknown talent, and she's going to be a star. It's just a matter of time till they get her to that top peak.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we have the backstage promo we talked about earlier that made the whole JC and Gigi losing make sense. Mandy Rose comes up to them as they're walking back and being interviewed, and they ignore the interviewer. And Mandy says, if you feel like this and you never want to feel like it again, come join me, and you won't ever have to. And they look at each other like, I don't know, should we do this? And I love that they looked at each other. They didn't make a decision on their own. They were like, should we, shouldn't we? And they both together just kind of had it in their head, yes, and they walk away with Mandy Rose. This is going to be an interesting, eclectic group of talented women who don't always... For Mandy Rose, who doesn't get the talent and the credit that she deserves for her in-ring talent. She's gotten so much better over these past few years from her Tough Enough days where she was vilified for good reason, for worrying about her wedding more than the in-ring time. People forget that of the people from Tough Enough, the only two left now are Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose.
Mandy Rose.
Those two were great on that show. That being said, this is a great little thing. It's going to get them over, and it's an interesting group of three girls that are really going to do something in this company.
Yeah.
We then get Samoa Joe. And I literally, at the beginning of this, wrote, okay, Joe promo is going to be fire. And I started to walk away because I just assumed he was going to have a great promo and that was going to be it. I quickly had to write a whole bunch of more notes because everything kept happening. He comes out and he says, I'm a champion and I'm a 3-time champion, so I know I don't come out here for a celebration, which is a great little dig at Cameron Grimes, which I think might get paid off for it at some point. I love that. And it goes back to what Parrish said earlier about babyfaces not having celebrations. Joe's like, I'm out here in my gear and my street clothes because I know somebody's going to come out for a fight. And he says, if you want to come out, come on out. And out comes Pete Dunne. And I write in big letters, Pete Dunne versus Joe with about 17 exclamation points. Because that's a match I'm dying to see. Pete Dunne comes out and he basically says, I'm the next in line, you know it, and I know it, so go back to Regal and make the match happen. I think Cody's going to get a little ahead of us, but it's that Joe promo set up so many potential feuds in every combination I want to see. And yes, it did, because I thought that was going to be the end with Pete Dunne coming out and them calling it. Then LA Knight comes out, and I write down, good to see him in this position. They're elevating him from the $1 million title. They're letting him bypass the North American title, and they're putting him right in the main event. I think he's a great lower main event heel. He could do a great not a takeover match, but this could be a TV main event, championship match that they could have, and it could be great. Then we get Kyle O'Reilly coming out and cutting actually a really good promo. I was so happy for Kyle. He cut a great promo, mostly making fun of LA Knight, which was great because that's a match I kind of want to see now. But Kyle O'Reilly comes down and he gets attacked by Ridge Holland. And then Ciampa attacks Dunne in the ring, but then gets taken out by Ridge Holland. Then Joe lays out LA Knight, and Joe and Ciampa are left standing in the ring together. And I almost thought they'd come to, just come to stand there, eyes on eyes, and just have Ciampa just look at that title. But it didn't happen yet. Wow, a lot happened in this short time in this program. Which of these matches besides Joe and Dunne, because we're going to put that, because I think that's the easy, we want to see that match more than any. Of the other matches, which one do you want to see the most? Ash, we'll start with you.
I think I want to see Joe and Ridge Holland, to be honest, after the showing he's had the past couple of weeks.
All right, Alex.
Honestly, for me, Joe versus Ciampa. I don't think that they ever stepped in the ring with each other in NXT. I think when Joe was in, Ciampa was in DIY and just starting to climb into the stardom phase that he is right now. So I think they could put on a very, very well done match.
And Parrish.
I think if you really want to test to see what this guy does and what he can do against someone who's legit bona fide main event world champion caliber talent, this is an opportunity you got to see for Kyle O'Reilly. I don't think you need to have necessarily a winner here, but you need to see, okay, there's a difference between Adam Cole and Samoa Joe. And I'm an Adam Cole guy, but Samoa Joe's a different level competitor. Samoa Joe makes it believable that he could beat a guy like Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar might be the most polarizing figure in sports entertainment / pro wrestling right now. So if Kyle O'Reilly wants to look like he can be at the top of that NXT brand, be a face of that brand, he's got to make it believable that he can beat a guy like Samoa Joe. And I think this is a great opportunity to at least tease it or at least give us a hint of what Kyle O'Reilly can be, because this is a new test that he needs to pass with flying colors.
I was going to say, for me, it's Ridge Holland versus Samoa Joe. I mean, there's a chance you can throw this kid into the deep end with a guy who you know can drag him through a great match. You can really get to see what levels this guy has and kind of position him in the future based on a match. Doesn't even have to be a title match. Just have it be a grudge match where him and Joe get into something. He's like, you know what? Before you get to Pete, you go through me. I'd also love to see a big number one contenders match with all of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Throw in Kyle O'Reilly, throw in Pete Dunne, throw in Ridge Holland, throw in Tommaso Ciampa, throw in Timothy Thatcher, throw in Kyle O'Reilly, and just have a big six-way match for the number one contender.
I'm going to throw a name that I would have loved to see in here just to shake things up. I would have loved to see Walter be a part of this.
Yeah.
And Walter Joe,
Oh, yeah.
that's a match I think we all just do a little bit, I'm hungry for. Yeah.
I'm going to put a bold prediction out here. I think we see Walter versus Joe at WrestleMania weekend next year. I think Walter comes over for those last couple of weeks going into Mania weekend. And I think Joe's Mania title match is against Walter.
I think that's a matchup that if these rumors are true that Vince wants, big guys in the main event for world title, muscle upon muscle, because he's so nearsighted about what's actually coherent with the audience that he knows nowadays, then how do you not get excited for Samoa Joe and Walter? It blows my mind if this isn't even on a radar, because
I think the hard part about booking Walter against anybody in NXT without them having them go to NXT UK to have the match at a UK takeover is the fact that Walter doesn't like working in the States. He doesn't like traveling here.
They have Joe attack him in UK. We saw when the Undisputed Era did that. But this is what you need to make it entertaining. Like, if you want to do this, then the crossover has to happen. Like, we gotta do this. And that's another thing though. This Worlds Collide thing with NXT is happening pretty quickly too. So
are we getting another Worlds Collide? Because I didn't hear anything about it yet.
I don't know, but you should, because it's fantastic.
That being said, I just want to bring up what Cody says here, because he's right. I'd love to see Walter versus Joe, but I don't know if Joe can work a Walter level match anymore. I'd be worried for his health.
Sure he can.
We all on the Takeover show said that we all noticed Joe was a little bit rocked and a little loopy coming out of that match. I'm glad to see they threw him right back on TV. He didn't do anything, so we don't have to worry about concussion protocols or anything like that. But he looked to be in great shape tonight. He didn't look like he had any ill effects. So hopefully it was just a little bit of ring rust and a little bit of, head cloudiness, and that we can move on. Because I was really worried about him that night, because he definitely looked a little rocked on Sunday.
Well, take into account when his last wrestling match was before that.
I agree. But with all the concussions, you worry about when you see
it's a legit concern. I believe that.
When you see his eyes that glassy, you got to worry. We then have a great moment where we kind of put to bed all of the $1 Million stuff with Cameron Grimes, the $1 Million Man, and LA Knight, where Grimes basically gives the $1 Million Man the title back and says, Ted, this belongs to you. And Ted hems and haws, and Grimes starts to walk away, and he says, no, come on back here. This belongs to you. And he hands him a $1 million title. I say A because it's a replica. And Cameron Grimes quickly learns that he hears the plastic clinking together. It doesn't sound quite right. And it doesn't look quite right. And Ted just laughs as he drives away, and Grimes just shakes his head and smiles. Because Ted told him, every time you see this, I want you to think of me and everything that you can be in this business. And I love that it puts a final thing on it, and Ted can leave, and we don't see Ted anymore because we don't need to see Ted anymore. The story's been completed. We had a great 3-act story, and we can move on.
Can I? You know what would have been a touching thing is if he actually would have given him the real one, but then IRS would have came and taken it away. Like, and I think that's just it. Like, the nostalgic pop is there, and it's like I get like what they did was so touching, and it was just a feel good closure story to this. But it's pro wrestling. You always kind of turn it up to 11 if you have the chance, right?
I just think the fact that Mike Rotunda, I don't believe, is still working backstage right now was the difference on this one. I don't think Mike Rotunda is working backstage. And with everything going on with Wyndham, I just think it's a good idea not to include him. It'd be weird. If he popped up on TV right now, I'd be very, very weirded out about how that family dinner goes.
Here's another terrific one. You get the Repo Man.
That would have been great.
Right?
I'll sign off on that one. There's no downside to the Repo Man. That would have been hysterical.
There you go.
All right, so we move on, and Kyle O'Reilly's getting interviewed, and he gets talked to by Duke Hudson. Yeah, I can't. Duke Hudson's such a weird name for a guy who already had a really weird wrestling name of Brendan Fink. Like, I don't see why you couldn't just roll with that. That being said, Hudson, bigger guy, looks great, goes ahead and starts a fight with Kyle O'Reilly that he obviously can't win. But I love that there's so many new stories being told, and you're seeing this top-tier talent working with some of these younger guys they're trying to get over. This tonight's show was a really great showing of the breakout guys kind of getting back into the storylines, getting back into it. Last week, granted, he got a little squashed, but you did have Josh Briggs in there with Cameron Grimes. This week, you got Duke Hudson stepping up with Kyle O'Reilly. In a little bit, we're going to talk about the breakout finals. And that match was actually the best match of the entire tournament. Thank God they had a good match. But I like how there's a lot of new stories being told. No, it doesn't look like anything's going to carry over from TakeOver to another show. Everything seems to be new. And that's great because that's the old school NXT way. Every TakeOver is a brand new cycle. We then do, like I said, get the breakout finals with Carmelo Hayes versus Odyssey Jones. I really like this match. I thought that Odyssey Jones looked the best he's looked in the entire tournament. I thought he had a decent connection with the crowd. While I can't get into him and I can't get behind him, and I said that in the Slack chat, like there's something missing. I don't feel it. There's something lacking in this guy. He had a really good match, and he had a really good match with Carmelo Hayes. Ashley, we're going to start with you because I want to get the wrestler's perspective from these two guys with Alex and Chris after this. But looking at it from the outside in, what did you think of this match and Carmelo Hayes being crowned the breakout champion?
I feel like Carmelo made him look good, Odyssey at least, and I like how the crowd was like split behind them when they first started. I could hear the chants for both of their names, and I'm like, you don't know which one of them was gonna win, but I was hoping from the beginning it would be Carmelo because I felt like the crowd was more behind him. He had more charisma to begin with since the tournament started compared to especially Odyssey. Yeah, I liked that they looked good, and I liked how they asked him about the title match, and he's like, "I'm not gonna choose yet. I'm gonna take my time and make my decision later." I'm like, "Yeah, take your time. I don't want to hear it yet. I want to build it up so you don't know when it's gonna happen either." Because I would like to see that too. I would like to see some kind of surprise. I don't want to see any announcements about it. I would like to see that because I want it to be unexpected for the crowd. And I think that will be really good for the crowd as well to keep them hot, or maybe end in NXT with him kind of like cashing in that contract like that.
Okay. And for Alex and Parrish, I'm going to start with Alex and we're going to go to Parrish, but I'm going to ask you the same question. Having worked in the ring, Alex having worked and Parrish currently working in the ring, what did you guys think of the way the match was laid out, the way it was broken down, and especially talk me through the idea of the finish with Hayes hitting his finisher and then Jones essentially hitting a finish and then having that, as I call it, the creative finish.
So unfortunately, I didn't get to see much of this match. I haven't been very much invested in these two. I didn't get to see the beginning of the breakout, and we hadn't really gotten a good showing from either of these guys up until this match. So I didn't get to see too much of it. I was a little distracted doing a couple other things. I did, however, see the finish. And having that reversal in the cross pin, in the crucifix pin, as they call it. From Hayes to Jones, it was definitely interesting to see. It was quick. It was surprising, and of course, I have said it before, and I'll say it again. I love surprises, and seeing Carmelo Hayes go over was definitely a surprise. I thought they were going to push towards more Jones, but it's good to see Hayes going over.
All right, and Parrish.
I liked what they did for the finish in terms of like the last thing you saw. What I didn't like is that if you're going to do something like that, I wouldn't have put the bigger stuff right before it. Because now it just made me realize, well, now your big stuff, your AK or your finishers, they don't do the job. They don't get the job done because it didn't work. I would have loved to see them go for their finishers. I would have loved to see some counters. I would have loved to see some unsuccessful attempts to where this became more plausible and unexpected. I do like the fact that you did as much as you possibly could to make these guys look like stars, and they did have a great match. It's just I would have made sure that you still kind of did their important stuff and kept that looking strong, because now, if you were ever to have that match again, if you have one hit the finish and it works, it just doesn't make any sense because it didn't work the first time. Why all of a sudden does it work the next? I like the fact that they did Carmelo Hayes simply because I thought Odyssey was too unexpected. Do you guys remember before NXT really blew up and became like super popular? They used to always have guys from Raw or SmackDown come down, do a kind of one-offs with specific talent. I would love to see Big E come down and have a one-off with Odyssey Jones and kind of get his confidence in there and just kind of really kind of give him that. I think this is a very crucial point. If you're going to go back to this quote-unquote development stage, then you got to sprinkle in the season advice from the ones on the Raw and SmackDown. And there's not a lot of comparables to Odyssey Jones, but the biggest one is the current Money in the Bank holder in Big E. This is a big one. With Carmelo Jones, I mean, I really would love to see him tease almost affiliation with Hit Row.
Could be interesting. Hit Row will be in our main event. Mm-hmm. The only thing I liked about this match, and you were talking about the finish and how you didn't like it with the finishers portion. I like that Carmelo Hayes hit his finish on the big dude, because all it is a top rope leg drop. It's a move that John Cena is part of his arsenal, but isn't his finish. I love how it wasn't enough. Like you see the fear in his eyes as he realizes I need more to beat this big guy. That's not going to be enough. I don't necessarily hate that.
No, but I'll give you kind of my counter to this because I love talking psychology. It's amazing. My thing is, this shouldn't be his finisher moving forward in it.
Agreed.
And then that's the thing. If it's one of his trademark moves, like if it's, that weird backbreaker that Randy Orton does, not the RKO, that's fine. If he can get something else moving forward, awesome. but it's just one of those things where if you were to ever have this match again, you have to one-up it, and that's always been my issue with, as much as I love these guys, Sammy and Kevin Owens, because every time they seem to get in there, all they're doing is recreating their big stuff because it's really difficult to one-up that. And you really have to kind of go step by step. Storytelling should be like walking up the stairs. You save the biggest step for last. Because if you ever fall back, you then have to go back up, and it's that much more difficult.
And this is why I love having people like Parrish and Alex on the shows, that we can get these interesting perspectives, so it's not just fans talking wrestling. We can get people who've been in the ring who understand how a match is put together and how a match needs to proceed, so that we can get just something different than people ranting at a computer screen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I value you guys for having the ability to
that one comment. I
What's
got
that?
an idea. The Carmelo Swerve.
Okay.
Have Carmelo go up against Swerve for the North America Championship. Have such a great showing to where Swerve wins this match, gains respect to Carmelo, and he's on the radar, and it leads to Swerve inducting him into Hit Row. I would love that because it would make it look really organic. Plus, have Carmelo tag with Top Dollar instead of the other guy, because I think the other guy so good. He needs to be singles.
Okay, that makes sense.
His name just was escaping me right now. So
Adonis.
thank you. Yes, he is so good. Swerve can be a championship caliber guy, and this guy could take that reign as a North American champion.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. Like we said, we've all talked about how it's weird when they go for a middle title when you have an opportunity at a bigger title. That being said, I think this is the one spot where it makes a little bit of sense. Use it as an audition to get into Hit Row.
Exactly.
I think he kind of fits the gimmick, but I also kind of want to see this dude do his own thing. But I could see it. If he joins Hit Row, I'm not going to get upset.
Think about this, too. If we want to see these guys not struggle to get over, then you put him in a position where he's associated with other acts, and it could help him lead way in. It works for a lot of guys. I mean, I always thought a guy. I'm trying to remember Rich Swann. I would have loved to see some New Day type stuff with him back in the day. I thought that would have been fantastic. But we saw this even going back to the Nation of Domination when you're sprinkling in your Savio Vegas of the groups, whether it's your crushes of the groups. But then you got your Mark Henry. Mark Henry got so much out of that it was so beneficial. And I think this guy could be the Mark Henry to the Nation of Domination and kind of be like that. This is where I think a loss of Mark Henry really, really hits WWE. He could really help these guys just because he gets it.
I agree. And speaking of four-man factions with, we're talking about adding a guy into a Hit Row to make it a four-man faction. I wonder if there could be a four-man faction, say, around November. No reason, just thinking.
I mean, who knows?
But speaking of four-man factions, we now have, as I call them, Dunn & Co. or McAfee Company. We have Dunn, Holland, Birch, and Lorcan. And we get the promo that basically says we're back on the map. Ridge Holland is going out to hurt whomever he has to. Pete Dunne is going after Samoa Joe. And Birch and Lorcan are going back after the tag team titles. Love it. Short, sweet, to the point. You know where everybody's headed. And you know Ridge Holland is just going to be a destroyer. Nothing more to say about this. We then have a Boa promo, and I write down, oh, there's a Boa promo too. Like, care less. I love Boa. Boa has a great look, but that's about it. He was in the breakout tournament with the last group, and he never really broke out. They have high hopes for him because he's one of the guys that they got in the first Chinese tryouts when they went to China the first time. He seems like he's getting it, but for some reason, it never seems to go right for this guy. Speaking of which, Boa takes on Zion Quinn. I think that's how you pronounce his first name. Xyon.
Yeah, that's right.
Boa basically runs this match pretty well until he turns around to Mei Ying and she gives him the finish him sign. and then he gets beaten by an arm tackle. An arm tackle. Yeah. There's not a lot to write home about this match. I mean, good for Zion Quinn getting the win. He was smart enough to avoid being pinned up by Mei Ying with the Tian Sha. As Cody says, the Tian Sha gimmick never really clicked for him. Hopefully Boa can move away from that and do his own thing. I think it's the only thing he's ever done that made him feel important. And then we got Nightball.
Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
No, you're right. I don't feel like I've talked enough. No, you know what I kind of feel like? If Boa ever makes it to the main roster, they're gonna stick him with Akira Tozawa, and they're gonna be like some sort of ninja gimmick, kind of Kabuki warrior stereotype gimmick. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, boy.
I feel like that's could potentially how that could go. I really hope not, because I want to see more of his style. If you're saying that he's one of the breakout stars from China, so. But I was just like, I could see it happening.
I mean, the thing with Boa is he's got zero charisma. When he talks, I don't care. Like, one of the things I love about Asuka is that she bleeds charisma. Even when she's yelling at me in Japanese,
yep.
I completely tone in to everything that she has to say, even though I don't understand a word of it, because she just is so into the moment, where she's just yelling and screaming in Japanese. With Boa, he cuts this promo in I'm assuming it's Chinese, Cantonese, something along those lines, and I couldn't care less. I didn't even bother to go back and read what it said. I was just like, okay, Boa has a promo, cool. I agree with Alex. I could see really bad racial stereotypes coming up on the main roster. I could see him in a rice patty gimmick, where he has the hat and everything else. It's just bad stuff I can see on that main roster.
Yes, Chris.
Well, no, I was going to say this was going to be what I was going to say. This is why I think it's very important that WWE finds the right person who can talk well in English, but also is from Chinese descent. Put them on the commentary booth during these segments so they can then actually explain the culture and help more people understand it. I think there's a disconnect from the culture to the main audience and the reasons why these are going on. And I think it's really important that you find that right communicator to do this. Whether it's maybe you ask, I don't know, like a John Cena who knows Mandarin. Maybe you just say, hey, we won't put your face on screen, but if we get you to kind of just from an audio clip, kind of just be able to explain it in a way that we know you can, just so more people can connect with what they're doing, I think you're going to see more people care about this stuff. I think it's not because it's bad. I think there's a lot of things that we just don't know about this culture to the point where it's so hard to connect to because we just question what's going on because we can't understand it because we don't know why. And I think that's the biggest fault here. We need someone to help us communicate A to B better for us so we can actually appreciate it instead of judging.
And I think one of the things, I have an idea for that. If you say that, I know he's Japanese, but he's a WWE mainstay and a legend, and he loves to talk, and he talks just enough English that it would make sense. Funaki, number one announcer. I know he's Japanese, but he makes a whole lot of sense in that idea. If we're talking that, I could see Funaki being with Boa. I know it's Japanese Chinese, and I know it's bad for but he could probably understand the culture of both sides. Mm-hmm. Speaking of culture, we're gonna have a fun conversation when we get to Hit Row versus Legado because the Slack chat. I had some fun in the Slack chat for that one. But we get one of my favorite moments of the night: Johnny and William Regal backstage. And we're gonna ignore the fact that LA Knight. We're gonna do this right now, just so we don't have to talk about it later. LA Knight comes walking in, demanding a match with Samoa Joe, and he gets into an argument with LA Knight and Johnny Gargano, and William Regal kicks them both out. Don't care about that in the slightest. Great, we'll talk about that next week. Johnny Gargano and William Regal are backstage, and Johnny's talking about how Regal is part of the way. He's like, if there's a William, there's a way. And he's trying to get Willie Regal to cancel the wedding. And William Regal's like, no, they're in love and it'll be great for ratings. We're going to have them on TV. They met in NXT. They're going to be married on NXT. It's perfect, Johnny. No, we're not canceling the wedding. And they're going back and forth. And oh my God, these two are great. I never want to see them not working together. If Johnny goes up to the main roster, William goes up with him because there needs to be more of this. Johnny, as Cody says, Johnny and Regal have such great promo chemistry. They have like the same kind of humor too, because like Johnny's all about being super agitated and go, and William Regal is just so dry that it's hysterical, and they work so well. It reminds me of Jericho and William Regal from the Attitude Era. Like they have that same similar chemistry.
It really reminds me of Tajiri too, in that sense too. Astrid, just take it away, please.
Yeah. You are the way correspondent for us all, especially when it comes to Index. So this is yours.
I'm like, I love it. I love it. I love every part of it. Everything. I'm like, I feel like they do nothing wrong with the way. Like, how is that possible? I have no idea. Whoever sets up A+ to them, because I love every single week, everything that happens. I'm like, yes, give me more. Anything. I like anything from them.
Alex?
I mean, if I could just say, Regal, he's a man's man. And I think he was born to play a comic gimmick, a comedy gimmick. Him with Johnny was very funny, and I agree. Him and Jericho and him and Tajiri were very good comical gimmicks. And I think he was more born to play that than the kind of stuck-up brawler that he was.
They let Austin Theory off my TV. That's my beef with the way. I agree, but I think that Austin being off TV is setting up something great with this wedding, because Regal does mention that Johnny's not allowed to do anything stupid to ruin the wedding in this segment too, which I think is great that he knows already that something stupid is going to happen, so that Regal's calling it out this far ahead is fantastic. We have Parrish.
I'm going to ask one question.
Sure.
When will WWE realize that William Regal belongs in the Hall of Fame?
As soon as William Regal decides he no longer wants to be on television.
But that is easy.
I know.
Hopefully they decided a long time ago. They're just waiting on Regal.
But I have somewhere I'm going with this, because how great would it be is if they rib him like they ribbed him against Bryan Danielson with his music. What happens if they rib him with Johnny Gargano being the guy during a live shtick or a skit, being the guy that tells him he's going into the Hall of Fame? If he wants to get him to break character, this would be hilarious in so many ways.
Ooh. Like what you did there.
Nice pun. Nice pun. Good job. All right. Oh, my phone just turned off. Okay. So now we have a great promo with the Diamond Mine, and it's Malcolm Bivens doing all the talking, which honestly needs to happen more. I need more Malcolm Bivens on my television. They are absolutely fantastic when they let him talk. They've got all of Diamond Mine doing all kinds of drills in the back, and he brings up two names, and I forget what their first names are, but they're the Green Brothers. And apparently they must be new recruits. So I'm assuming they're new young talent who they want to use in this thing, because unfortunately they got rid of Tyler Rust, who was doing fantastic in this group. Sorry for Tyler Rust. That being said, Bivens goes on and talking about how his client is still owed a cruiserweight title match, and that next week he's going to do an open challenge. I'm hoping for Carmelo Hayes. I think that'd be great coming off of this. You have Carmelo Hayes go out there and you have him get a big win, or you have a great match with Roddy, because he can have a great match with Roddy. And if it's not him, maybe Trey Baxter to get him back on track after getting beat up by Rich Holland. That could be fun. Who do you guys think might come out for this open challenge next week?
I hope it's Kushida.
Oh, you just open challenge and Kushida comes out for the title?
No, I hope they just keep it Kushida and strong. I really just hope that's just it. I don't think there needs to be a surprise. And if there is, I'm actually going to throw this. I mentioned Tajiri, and I mentioned the fact that if they want to bring in guys to kind of help guys, I'd love to see Tajiri and Kushida.
That would work. Astrid.
I'm like, I feel like I would like somebody like Carmelo. I feel like it will get the crowd going. Plus the matches he's had lately and Roddy too. I'm like that would be a good showing for me, and the crowd will probably be split between them as well. So.
And Alex.
I'm kind of on the same page with Parrish. Just Kushida and Strong, you know.
Yeah, makes sense. I like the idea of having something to kind of throw it in there so that it makes so it you can give Roddy a nice win because like with the Money in the Bank briefcase, once you win it, you don't necessarily obviously need to keep winning. You can kind of lose a match or two if you need to. Cody brings up anyone from the breakout tournament would be a fun open challenge match, and I agree.
It'd be nice to see somebody from NXT UK too. Like if we want to go to that surprise route, I mean,
Walter comes out next week.
Well, no. Who's the last former cruiserweight champion from the NXT UK?
Jordan Devlin.
Yeah.
I mean, who would say no to that match?
I mean, I have my gripes with Jordan Devlin, but that's solely because of outside of the ring stuff that is or isn't necessarily dealt with. So, I mean, but no, I agree. Cody has another idea. Danny Burch is back and fits the 205 weight limit. Now remember, I think it's probably going to be a heavyweight because last time they did this, they brought out it was Ilya. Ilya came out last time, and Malcolm Bivens made sure to mention that it doesn't matter that he lost because it was a heavyweight. So I'd like to bring out somebody who's above 205, who he can beat, and then have Malcolm Bivens go against his own words.
Drake Maverick, then.
I thought about Drake.
Drake Maverick.
Drake would be great.
This guy needs to be on TV. The fact that he's not on TV is an absolute slap in the face.
But I again, like we talked about this before, I want to see Drake Maverick in more moments where I don't think he's just going to get himself beat up. And I feel like if you bring him out in this match, you can't do anything but have him lose to Roddy.
Yeah, but he can also have a great match with Roddy. And if it's a great match with a loss in a great match, it could make us look at him in a little different of a thing because I think we're all in unison. Roderick Strong is one of the best professional wrestlers in NXT today, and if you can push him to your limits, and he's really on the rise to become the next diamond in the rough in terms of the cruiserweight division, then you're actually just doing a great job of making somebody else look great who can compete with them down the road. So I don't know. I mean. Who knows? I mean, there's endless opportunities. I mean, that's what we do now. We speculate.
Anybody on the roster would be a great match with Roderick Strong. The guy can wrestle anybody. And then we get to our main event. We have Hit Row.
Hit Row.
Yeah, that's right. Do it.
Parrish, your turn.
Hit Row.
Come on, we guys, do it for JPG.
JPJ.
That's what I said.
Come on, it actually is a female doing it. So, I mean, naturally, it just makes sense.
Come on.
Come on.
There you go.
Hey.
Speaking of JPJ, I can't believe I forgot with all the chaos from earlier. We forgot to mention it. JPJ is still recovering from being in Vegas with Spencer. I mean, I'm sure all of us, after a weekend like that, being in Vegas and all the funny stories that we can't hear and we can't talk about, I'm sure we would all need an extra day to recover. He is hopefully going to be back tomorrow night for the War Report for the AEW. I know he's chomping at the bit to be able to talk CM Punk on the air. So I'm assuming he's going to try like hell and high water to make sure he's on that show tomorrow night. That being said, we have Hit Row versus Legado del Fantasma. And now we're going to get into the fun portion of our Slack chat. Legado del Fantasma comes out, and Santos Escobar comes out. And I asked the question in the Slack chat, what is the actual cultural name for the poncho that Santos was wearing? I actually worded the question with, what is the name of the thing Santos is wearing? To which I get the response of, what are you talking about?
Wait, I gotta clarify. You said what is the name of the covering? And I'm like, what covering is he talking about? And I'm like,
so we go back and forth because I didn't want to be culturally insensitive because there are a lot of cultures that have specific names for specific types of garments that are different in English than they are in other languages. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't being super offensive by calling it a poncho because that's what I would call it. It is a serape.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was, but I wanted to clarify with people who might know more than me. So I definitely didn't single out one person in this chat at all to make sure that she might help me out with that.
I mean, it's pretty normal that there's a real name for it, and then the dialect in North America is just a stupid word that really screws it up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what we do, right?
But I love the traditional look of the attire that he had coming out with that Mexican traditional mask. And I love that they were, like Ashton said in the Slack chat, all of Legado del Fantasma was in this great orangey color scheme. It looked fantastic. Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde have some of the greatest entrance masks. Like, La Sombra's great. I like Andrade's stuff that he's been doing with some of his masks. But they've got nothing on the huge shark that Joaquin Wilde comes out with on his mask. It is absolutely fantastic. The open mouth is literally his entire head. It is such a cool look. If you've never noticed it, go back and watch some of his entrances. It's a shark mask and the entire mouth is his head. It's great. That being said, these guys have a fantastic match. There was no way it wasn't going to be great. It took about 15, 20 minutes. There was a commercial break in between because, of course, there was, because it's television. If this had been on the pay-per-view card, it would have been absolutely standout. It would have been hard to have been better than anything else on the card that was on there the other night. So I won't say it would have been the best match of the night because there's no way anything was going to top Walter versus Dragunov. That being said, we do get a great little moment where Elektra Lopez apparently comes out and sides with Legado del Fantasma, and Legado has themselves a woman. It's great.
Finally.
Called it.
We've been waiting for the Legado lady to come out because they have BFAB, so we knew it was only a matter of time before somebody came out. She takes a pipe to BFAB, and God, BFAB sells it great. She then takes the pipe and throws it to Swerve, who's utterly confused. What do I do with a pipe? Tries to hit it to the referee, who's like, what do you want me to do with it? Santos rolls him up. The ref catches the pipe and then throws it like it's a hot iron coal. And Santos gets the 1, 2, 3. It was a great match. Astrid, I know you love talking about the cultural significance of Legado del Fantasma and Hit Row, and it's still NXT is keeping the cultural significance with these guys. Everything feels appropriate. Nothing feels like it's a stereotype. It's so anti-WWE in so many ways, but it's something that NXT has nailed time and time again. We go back with Tien Shaw. It feels real. It feels like it's something that they're putting together, and it feels like it's something that would be part of the culture. Go through this match and talk about what you thought, because I know you said in the Slack chat you want more.
Yeah, being Hispanic, obviously the representation in WWE is something that's always been lacking for me, and I'm like, I don't want us to be the punchline of the jokes like they do in the main roster, unfortunately. So that's why this storyline has been great for me. I've been loving every part of it. I was always hoping it will be part of the takeover, and takeover will be a longer program. Obviously, unfortunately, we didn't get that, but I do want more because I feel like it was good, but I want another one because it was that good. And I love, like I said in the chat from the beginning, I love the attires, the matching attires. That was such a great touch. Their entrance, everything. And like we talked in the chat, finally they have female representation with the guys there too. I've been wanting that for a while because obviously we have Raquel in there, but she's not going to be part of Legado, unfortunately. So there's another Hispanic woman on the NXT roster, something I've been loving too. So I'm really happy about it.
Parrish, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, like I think exactly what Astrid said is correct. Like you just need to represent every culture that you have on your roster to the fullest and to the most positive, because if we're talking about a global empire like the WWE, there is absolutely zero reason why you have to take the quote-unquote stereotypes of a culture when you have a platform where you can actually showcase the beauty of every culture. And that's just it. Like, we all understand just how important it is, but the fact that now we're getting a female perspective in Legado del Fantasma, which is going to be, and I just hope it's just not a sake of a female being in there just to counter another female. I hope she's a talker. I hope she puts her stamp on the group, and I hope she actually has a presence. Because if she doesn't, I think then this is where lies the problem of the representation of her in the group. You need to make her feel as empowering as the other three members are. And I'd rather her be looked at as an equal to Santos Escobar right away, other than a slow build, because this now allows us to look at the female in Hit Row in a bigger perspective right now. And that's going to be the important part. I would actually very much appreciate it if War Games consists of 3 men and a female, because that would be really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to say that could be interesting. That could be where they're building to an 8-person War Games match that's intergender. I'd really, really like that.
I will love that.
I heard something on commentary, and I don't know where I heard it or who it was directed to, but I heard them talking about when one of them was looking at Elektra, they said Familia. And I don't know if they were talking about Santos said it or if Swerve was saying it. It'd be really interesting if they're bringing her in and potentially saying that she's related to Swerve and join with Legado. That could be fun. I mean, it's so WWE that it would be bad, but it could be interesting if that was the case. Alex, what did you think of the match and in bringing in Elektra Lopez?
I can't speak on much of the match because I was getting ready to do the broadcast of the night, but I do want to say, it is great to see. I agree with everybody. It's great to see all this representation. I mean, in recent years, we've had the first African American WWE champion in Kofi Kingston. This past year, WrestleMania, we had Bianca and Sasha main event a WrestleMania night. These things need to happen. There needs to be representation. And hopefully, with this new addition to Legado del Fantasma, there I got it, we'll see this Chico Bonita add a little flavor to this and have Hit Row's female put into the mix, and we'll all just see this as a pot going into War Games. We'll see all these people just having it out, and it could very much lead to some interesting mixtures going into that match.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the best things going right now. It's the only feud that really feels like it's continuing from beginning War Games through now, between this and Ridge Holland versus Thatcher and Thatcher and Ciampa. Those really feel like the only 2 things that are just continuing. I think Roddy versus Kushida would have been done had they been able to have the match last Tuesday like they wanted to. This was an interesting version of NXT. I felt like they jammed way too much into it. There was a lot of short segments. There was a lot of short promos. That being said, the main event got plenty of time. I thought Ridge Holland and Thatcher got a decent amount of time, and the breakout finals got a really good time limit on that one. It felt like a full match. It didn't feel like they needed to cut that thing short. But there was a lot jammed in this week. I mean, I remember Ashton saying it's only been an hour and we had like 7 segments. There was a lot going on this week, but it was good. Everything felt like it was good.
Yeah, as long as you can do it and it can run smoothly. I mean, the problem is you don't want to be Monday Night Raw where you have a million segments and it's like, oh my God, this is awful. Like, just keep it simple.
Tell me about it. I tuned in for Raw for the first time in a long time, and oh boy, I turned it off just after the opening tag match.
Yeah, I mean, they really define the word convoluted in 3 hours every Monday night, whereas at least with NXT, we understand that there is a rhyme to the reason of why they're doing it. And it's not like all their main guys got more time. It really seemed like the majority of the time was spread out to the younger guys, to the we'll just say, for the sake of a better term, the non-established talent, so they can actually shine. So by the time they get through this transition, they can really now start to run instead of play catch up. Really,
the only real established talent that was on tonight was all in the Joe segment. And then you had, if you consider them established talent, you had Santos and you had Swerve. But I think of them as young guns who are going to be part of this, the new NXT anyways. I feel like they're future world champions of NXT in this new NXT. Going over a couple things that were on Raw because we were just talking about it. I mean, we have Karrion Kross's great new attire.
Yay!
Who are you kidding?
I know. It was awful.
Who are you kidding?
It was awful. That being said, we did have one really great thing on Monday Night Raw, and that was the breakup of The Miz and John Morrison. It was a great little breakup. I liked how it was done, and I'm very excited to see where Morrison and Miz get to go from here. That's going to be great stuff. That being said, we're going to start getting out of here, but I want to make sure that I hit some of the things for us. So follow us on Twitch. Throw us a follow or a subscribe on Twitch to help us pay the bills. With we know we have RK Athletics, but it's always nice. So if you have a little bit of money, you can go ahead and throw us some bits or throw us a subscribe at twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca. If you don't, you can always follow us on YouTube for all of our content. We have Josh's Legacy of, we have Turnbuckle Rewind, we have the Headlock Talk, and we have all of Spencer Love's interviews on here. And those can all be found at youtube.com/lovewrestlingca. Our mugs. I mean, you can't get the one Alex has. That's exclusive for just Alex. And I don't.
This mug is mine.
But you can go to lovewrestling.ca/shop and you can get Sunday brunch mugs. And as Parrish is showing off, you can get a lovely Sunday brunch sticker. But just so you know, we cannot sell that Love Wrestling Elite Championship. There's only one of those, and it's with Parrish for now until I come for it.
I mean,
that being said,
just singing the line of the song that never ends.
That being said, we also want to thank our sponsors, RK Athletics, one more time. Follow them online at RK Athletics 1. And if you get some time, we're still trying to be the #1 podcast in Canada. RateThisPodcast.com/lovewrestlingca. Whew. That's a lot of plugs, but we got the plugs out. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to give everybody the big screen and tell them what we got going on this week. And I know Alex has something special going on tomorrow, so we're going to start with Astrid. Apparently, we're going to start with Astrid.
Yeah, Mike put me on the spot so quickly. No, usually I'm here for the Love Wrestling Reacts during the weekend, and like I mentioned last week, I was part of the WrestlePlug podcast, and hopefully I'll be joining a little bit more often there. So check me out there as well. And my Twitter is Astrid Pizarro, where I talk about wrestling when I'm not here.
Hold on, I want to get rid of the RK Athletics thing. There you go. Now you can see it. All right, and now we're going to go to Parrish.
All right, you can follow me on my Twitter at Chris Parrish, my Instagram at Chris.Parrish. You can follow me on my Twitch at the Chris Parrish. If I ever decide to stream, you'll be the first to know. I promise you. But until then, please make sure that you watch all the great programming here at lovewrestling.ca, including, Turnbuckle Talk, because we haven't mentioned that one. They do a lot of great work at Turnbuckle Talk.
That is true. And Parrish, where else can we find you this week? Are we seeing you on any of the shows?
Well, first off, I am not Spencer's twin, because if twins are supposed to be alike, then he should have one of these as well, and he does not. So we'll just mention that right away. And plus, I have way better hair.
I don't know. Spencer's got some pretty good hair.
Yeah, but he had to grow it for like 2 years, and that's all he can muster up. Come on.
All right, where else can we find you this week, Parrish?
Well, I mean, Jordan Cody said RCW Edmonton. I will not be there because I don't work for RCW. But yeah, you can always check them out. I do have a show September 4th. But I mean, with that being said, just make sure you go and support your local wrestling people, because I really don't have a lot going on this week. So I'm just going to sit back and enjoy all the great stuff and love wrestling. And if I have a chance, I'm going to go and support my local pro wrestling, because, that's very important.
Speaking of somebody who does have a lot going on, he's had a lot going on. He has a lot more going on.
So
Alex.
much going on. Yes, but before I begin, I do want to say I agree with Chris. Make sure you support your local wrestling. It always is a big help. As for myself, I'm going to be everywhere this week, starting tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. Prior to AEW Dynamite, I will be streaming live from my personal Twitch. You can find right up here, right here, Ecto Guy 87. It's just going to be a little sit-down talk. We're going to be talking about wrestling. We're going to be talking about the new Spider-Man trailer that just came out. We're going to be talking about food, because I'm a type of guy that eats. And we're even going to talk wrestling figures, because I had an amazing haul today, which included this guy right here, which I'm very, very much proud of. I got my hands on this. But this was not the only thing. So make sure you tune in twitch.tv at EctoGuy87, and everywhere else, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and always follow me to see what's going on.
All right.
Hey, there's the plug.
And speaking of plugs, you can find me at edfries12584 on Twitter. You can find me moderating Tom Collihue's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Tom Collihu. We'll have spoiler warning this Friday where we talk about all the great wrestling news that Tom has in store before we go into our SmackDown preview and our SmackDown watch along, as long as his BT Sport holds up, because Lord knows it didn't hold up for Raw this last Monday, but Lord knows nobody wants to watch Raw anyways.
Mhm.
That being said, you can also find me hosting this Saturday as we have the next episode of Saturday Reacts, where I'm assuming most of my panel tonight will probably be joining me there as well.
I totally forgot. I'm so sorry.
Let's get outside.
Boo.
We have BOS coming back at 10 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. It wasn't there last week, but we'll be back this week. Hopefully
There
with
you
a lot of amazing games.
Dara says, who watches Raw? I don't know, but apparently 2.07 million people watched this week. And I'm like, that's an outstanding number. They should be super proud of that number.
I mean, we can make fun of people who watch Logan Paul.
There's too many commercials for me. I can't.
Red Bunny all the way. Bring him back.
Bring him back. All right, everybody. Well, that's been the War Report for NXT. JPJ will be here next week to write this crazy ship that I won't be steering anymore. So hopefully we'll have.
Hey, look, is that an iceberg? Hey.
No,
Hopefully, as long as, unlike Between Two Beards, I know we'll be back next week. So that's always a fun little thing to throw out there. Hopefully, Pluggo's okay. Hopefully, I know his internet was bad tonight, and I really want to know what the rant was about the NWA, because he was really getting into it. You saw his hands waving and whatnot. But everybody enjoy, stay safe. The pandemic's still going on. Please make sure that you're wearing your mask when you need to. Make sure that you're being safe with other people. Get vaccinated if you feel like that's something you want to do. And just be kind to people, because we all love wrestling. Have a good night. Bye.